Think of a classic children's cartoon. Bright colors, singing animals. But beneath that cheerful paint, many fables are actually horror stories about surviving the wild. Take the Hindi fable of Chikki the bird. The story opens with Chikki and her two chicks, Chinku and Pinku, trapped in a fragile nest as a massive, violent monsoon rolls in, and they have absolutely nothing to eat. The story uses a classic literary structure called escalating conflict, where a protagonist faces increasingly difficult obstacles to test the absolute limits of a mother's devotion. Because before a mother can fight actual monsters to protect her children, she first has to pass the forest's brutal entry exam, sheer physical endurance against the elements. Chikki is trapped in a biological catch-22. If she stays in the nest, she has to watch her children slowly starve to death. If she leaves to hunt in the pouring rain, she risks them freezing in her absence. This animated chart shows her exact catch-22. Starvation probability rises the longer she stays, while hypothermia risk spikes the longer she hunts. The tiny intersection between these curves is her only survival window to secure food and return. She takes the risk. Fighting torrential winds and blinding rain, she grips a few grains of wheat, struggling with every flap to make it back. But beating the weather doesn't mean you've won. It simply keeps you alive long enough to face the actual monsters waiting in the forest. Chikki takes shelter on a branch, where she meets Tony the parrot. Tony warns her about the danger she is flying into, shifting the story from passive weather survival to an intelligent threat. He tells her a grim story about a neighboring pigeon. While that mother was out hunting in this exact storm, a snake, slithering silently across the rain-slicked branches, found her unguarded nest and consumed her chicks. Biologists call this predation opportunity. Predation opportunity is a behavioral concept where extreme weather forces desperate, smaller animals into the open, creating highly concentrated, easy feeding zones for apex predators. Chikki realizes that raw physical endurance is entirely useless if she becomes someone else's meal. To survive the trip home, she now has to outthink an enemy that is physically superior. With the wheat secured, Chikki flies back into the storm, but her path is suddenly blocked. Two massive predatory birds ambush her in the dark, explicitly stating their intent to eat her alive. She is facing an impossible strategic disadvantage. She is holding food, her wings are soaked, and the predators are faster and stronger. Attempting physical combat or trying to flee will result in instant death, and so she pivots to intellectual combat. She looks at the two massive birds and challenges their egos, telling them that she will gladly be a meal, but only for the strongest, most dangerous predator between the two. The manipulation works. The two predators, desperate to prove their dominance, turn their aggression on each other, tearing with talons and clashing violently in mid-air. While the two heavyweights brutalize each other until they eventually fall unconscious to the forest floor, Chikki slips away unnoticed and finally returns to feed her freezing chicks. When you occupy the absolute bottom of the food chain, asymmetrical tactics, using an enemy's own strength and ego against them, are the only reliable weapons you have against brute force. The storm finally breaks. The sun comes up, and the predators are gone. But the story delivers a devastating twist. The physical exposure was too much, and both chicks wake up completely paralyzed by a severe viral fever. Desperate, Chikki flies to Dr. Chintu, a rat who serves as the local medical authority. She brings him to the nest, seeking a logical, scientific cure for her children's deteriorating condition. But Dr. Chintu delivers the ultimate narrative roadblock. He examines the chicks and declares that their immune systems are completely depleted. Medicine cannot save them now. Their survival relies entirely on God's will. This is the final tier of the fable's conflict. Chikki's physical endurance got her through the storm. Her tactical intellect defeated the predators. But now, stripped of both, she is facing fate, an invisible enemy she can neither outfly nor outsmart. She leaves the nest one last time, making a solitary flight to the silent peak. This is an isolated, high-altitude point in the forest, where the physical world is said to meet the spiritual universe. She doesn't fold her wings and beg. She doesn't pray for a miracle. Instead, she looks up at the sky and issues a furious ultimatum to the cosmos itself. She tells the universe that if its laws lack justice, if it demands her children die after she fought so hard to save them, she will shatter the natural order. She promises a mother's dying scream that will echo through generations. The universe, faced with an unstoppable will, yields. The ancient tree speaks, telling her to return home. When she gets back to the nest, she finds her chicks awake, their vitality fully restored, and asking to learn how to fly. These fables endure because they teach us that maternal devotion is a calculated, tactical, and biological weapon. In our cultural mythos, a mother's will is the singular apex force capable of looking death straight in the eye and demanding it step aside.